Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel for a very belated new route learning video, which is probably going to come as much of a surprise to you as it is to me. I wasn't actually planning on making any videos anytime soon, but recently I just got inspired, so I've decided to try and make a few new episodes and just see how things go. So a lot's happened in the last year since I made a video, and I've been very busy with my work with the London Ambulance Service, and I've also spent a lot of time actually travelling abroad when I've had the opportunity to do so. I've recently been offered a job on the railway though, working as a signaller at Upper Holloway Signal Box on the Gospel Oak to Barking line in North London, which I'm, as you can probably imagine, very excited about. Though I don't have a start date yet, I'm really happy that I've finally got a chance to get into a railway job. I don't know if this comeback to YouTube will be temporary or more permanent, but I've got plans for a number of new videos coming in the near future, recorded both within Train Simulator and Train Sim World, though as you'll probably notice I still have a preference towards driving within Train Simulator, just because I find the whole driving experience more realistic, even if the graphics are more fancy within Train Sim World. These videos are going to be in no particular order, and more based on what I feel like driving and recording on any particular day. Unfortunately, I won't be taking any requests at the minute, so please don't ask me in the comments to either make a particular video or if I'll be making a particular video. The simple answer to both of these questions is I don't know. For now though, I'm very happy to be making more videos for your enjoyment. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Dovetail Games Class 700 with the Armstrong Powerhouse Enhancement Pack, both of which came out since I last made a YouTube video, and I'm going to be driving a service on the Chatham Main Line with the Dover, Ramsgate and Blackfriars extension. The service I'm going to be driving is Train 9 Yankee 13, which is the 8:16 AM Thameslink service from London Blackfriars to Sevenoaks, which I'll be driving as far as Swanley, which is as far as the journey is modelled within Train Simulator at present. Stops along the way will include Elephant and Castle, Denmark Hill, Peckham Rye, Nunhead, Crofton Park, Catford, Bellingham, Beckenham Hill, Ravensbourne, Shortlands, Bromley South, Bickley, St Mary Cray, and finally Swanley. The total distance for this journey is around 17 miles. As already mentioned, our train for the journey today is a Class 700 Siemens Desiro City electric multiple unit running in an 8-car formation. Operated by Thameslink, a total of 115 Class 700 units were constructed between 2014 and 2018, and they've been in service since the 20th of June 2016, replacing the Class 319, 377 and 387 units previously operated by Thameslink. They come in either 8 or 12-car formations with 60 8-car units and 55 12-car units in service, with the 8-car units being around 162 metres or 531 feet in length, and the 12-car units being around 243 metres or 796 feet in length. They are dual voltage units capable of running on both the 750 volts DC third rail system found throughout the southern region, as well as the 25 kilovolts AC overhead electrification system found on the Midland Main Line and East Coast Main Line for services towards Bedford, Peterborough and Cambridge. The maximum speed for these units is 100 miles per hour, but unfortunately we won't be able to get up to that on this journey today. So now in the cab of the Class 700, you can see that it's a very bright, airy and spacious cab, and you've got a great view of the track ahead of you, unlike other units that you might drive, especially in the UK, which seem to have this sort of very much tunnel vision effect with the tiny window that you've got to look through. So we're going to go very quickly through the startup procedure now, which is very simple in the Class 700. So firstly I'm going to insert the master key by pressing Shift and W and then resetting the AWS self-test sequence.
TPWS and AWS operational.
Now that I've done that, I need to press F to reset the passenger alarm, which is that beeping sound that you just heard. Following on from that, I'm going to put the reversing handle into the forward position, press Ctrl and D to turn on the driver vigilance device, and we're now pretty much set up ready for departure. I did note that with the Class 700, once you've put in the master key and done the direction switch, it automatically turns on the headlights for you, so I don't actually need to do anything with the headlight settings. So in front of us here, you can see we've got the speedometer measured in miles per hour, and you've got the needle there, but you've also got a digital readout in the middle. But when I'm actually zoomed back in the driving position, you're going to see it's quite difficult to read that speedometer, but you can see where the marker lines are, so I know where the 5 and 10 mile an hour markers are, so I will be able to tell how fast we're travelling. In addition to that, I'm now going to turn off the driver reminder appliance, as you can see that the signal ahead of us is showing a green, clear or proceed aspect. So I'm just going to zoom in there, turn this off, and then it will give us a message to check the signal. And of course I already checked the signal before doing that. We've now got the driver vigilance device going off there, so I'll just press E to reset it. In fact, I'm going to move the reversing handle back to the neutral position until it's time for departure. Now, in front of us here we've got the brake gauge, but this is only really useful to tell you how hard the brakes are applied when we're at low speed, something below 10 miles per hour, as this unit uses dynamic braking for nearly all of the braking force required. So the only way I'm going to be able to tell how hard I'm braking is through the combined traction and brake controller over here. So you can see you've got, if you push it away from the centre position forwards, then that's actually the braking area, and if I pull it back, if I then pull it the other way, which I can't because the reversing handle's in neutral at the minute, then that's the power setting. And this is a completely smoothly controlled combined traction and brake controller. There's no notches with the braking. There is one notch with power, which is at 20%, and then it's smooth from there all the way to the maximum position. So I'm going to try and judge the braking. I've not actually attempted a practice run with the HUD off on this journey yet, so we'll see how it goes, but I do always save the journey at every station when I'm recording, so I can always jump back if I need to. The final thing to mention, of course, is over on this side, and that's the horn control, which is a two-tone horn, controllable with the spacebar and the B key. Actually, I say that's the final thing, but I should also mention the doors, as this train is driver-only operated. So when stopping at a station, you press T as usual to register the stop within Train Simulator. If you need to open the doors on the left-hand side, then you press the U key, and if you need to open the doors on the right hand side, then you press the O key, and finally to close the doors again you press the R key. So I've got completely manual control of the doors because the train is driver only operated. So now we've had a look at the cab and set up ready for departure, let's take another look outside the train and depart out on our journey towards Swanley and Sevenoaks. Departing away from London Blackfriars, the speed limit here is 20 miles per hour with just over a mile to go to our first stop, which is Elephant and Castle. So I've shut off the power at 20 miles per hour just to allow the train to coast here. The speed limit is going up to 30 but quickly dropping back down to 25 miles per hour. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to accelerate in a moment up towards 25 just at this upcoming signal gantry with the junction where the line diverging to the left heads towards London Bridge, and that's for Thameslink services towards places such as Rainham and also of course Gatwick Airport and Brighton. So I'm just going to accelerate up towards 25 now. The speed limit is 25 miles per hour for this junction that we're crossing just here. So I've now shut off the power again at 25 miles per hour to allow the train to coast. The speed limit's actually jumped up to 40 just as we crossed onto this track, so I'm just going to wait until the rear of the train is clear. And as you see the signal ahead with the 50 mile per hour speed post for a new increase in the speed limit, we can now accelerate up towards 40 miles per hour. As we pass the 50 mile per hour speed post, we had just over half a mile to go to our next stop. I'm going to shut off the power here as we cross this girder bridge. And I'm going to apply the brakes for Elephant and Castle station just as we're coming up to this next signal. And at Elephant and Castle we need to stop at the end of the platform. Probably braking slightly too much there, so I've just reduced the braking back. So you can see the 4-car stop sign just coming up on the left hand side with the platform monitors there, and then at the next set of platform monitors that's where the 8-car stopping point is. And so I'm just going to aim to try and stop by that sign there. Might have overshot it just very slightly. As we depart away from Elephant and Castle, the speed limit here is 50 miles per hour, though soon increasing to 60 miles per hour, with around 2.5 miles to go to the next stop, which is Denmark Hill. We're now coming up on the 60 mile per hour speed post, and the rear of the train will be clear of this post in time so that we can just continue accelerating. I don't have to cut the power at all. So we're now going to round this sweeping right-hand curve, and at the next signal we've got around 3/4 of a mile to go to an upcoming 20 mile per hour speed limit, and 1 3/4 of a mile to go to our stop. So I've now shut off the power at 60 miles per hour just to allow the train to coast at this point. The next signal coming up, we've got around half a mile to go to the upcoming 20 speed limit, and I'm going to apply the brakes to slow down for that as we're approaching the following signal. So now I'm going to brake for that 20 speed limit. We've now got the warning for the 20, but I actually think the warning, if you were to brake actually at the Morpeth board, I think it's too close to the speed limit itself, and if you weren't ready for it then you would end up very quickly overshooting that speed post. I actually think I've now slowed down a bit too quickly. There we are, I can see the speed post just coming up now, so I'll just reapply the brakes just to bring us down to 20 in time. And now I'm just going to allow the train to coast at 20 miles per hour. We're now coming up on Loughborough Junction station. The platforms on this particular track appear to be closed today, but Loughborough Junction station is still open for Thameslink trains heading in the other direction towards the Brighton Main Line, and you can see the open platforms just on the right hand side there. As we pass through Loughborough Junction, we're now changing to an up 1 in 59 grade, so we're going to lose a bit of speed. I'm going to give us some power in a moment just to ensure that we don't lose too much speed. now as we cross this junction here, the gradient is going to change to down gradient, so I need to prepare to use the brakes to control the speed. So it's a down 1 in 89 gradient. I've shut off the power just for a moment as the rear of the train's still on the uphill, but the front's now on the downhill bit, so we're soon going to start gathering speed. And the speed limit has just gone up now that we've crossed the junction to 60 miles per hour. Accelerate at this signal gantry just coming up here, and the platforms at Denmark Hill are coming up in a moment, so I'm not going to accelerate to much more than around 30 miles per hour. So I've now shut off the power at 30. You can see the platform coming up just ahead, and at Denmark Hill we need to stop at the S sign at the end of the platform. So we've got a warning there for an upcoming 40 mile per hour speed limit, which obviously comes into force after this stop. The warning itself is around half a mile to the limit if you were driving a train that doesn't stop here. Again, I'm slowing down a little bit too early, down to 10 miles an hour now. Fortunately, the timetable's quite loose for this journey, so I'm not going to end up running late if I do come into the platforms a little bit on the slow side. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. Departing away from Denmark Hill, the speed limit here is 60 miles per hour, soon dropping to 40 miles per hour, with around 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Peckham Rye. So now we've reached 40 miles per hour. I've shut off the power to allow the train to coast at this point, and we're now just about to pass the 40 mile per hour speed post. It's a very simple journey between Denmark Hill and Peckham Rye, so I'm just going to coast now at 40, and then as I see the platform, I'll apply the brakes, and we need to stop once again at the S sign, which is at the end of the platform. Now see the platform coming up just ahead, so I've got the brakes on now to bring our speed down. Don't really want to enter the platform at faster than around 30 miles per hour. So Peckham Rye has the platforms on this side, and you've also got the platforms on the far right over there, which are for trains heading towards London Bridge, and also for London Overground services towards, I think, Dalston Junction. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we departed away from Peckham Rye there, the speed limit is still 40 miles per hour, though soon increasing to 60 miles per hour, with around 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Nunhead. And we're also on a 1 in 76 upward gradient immediately after departure away from Peckham Rye. So the speed limit's increasing to 60 miles per hour at this signal just coming up here, and the gradient's also levelling out for a moment. I'm just going to shut off the power and allow the train to coast. I can't actually see a speed post for that 60 mile per hour speed limit though, so just bear in mind that it is actually there. We're now changing back to an up 1 in 98 grade, but I'm just allowing the train to coast at this point, as we are pretty close to Nunhead Station. We've now got a warning for an upcoming 40 mile per hour speed restriction, which is around a third of a mile away, and you can now see the platform at Nunhead coming up just ahead. Probably braked slightly early there, as I didn't need to due to the gradient. We're still on an upgrade as we enter the platform here, and at Nunhead, once again, I need to stop at the S sign, which is at the end of the platform. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. So departing away from Nunhead, the speed limit is 60 miles per hour, though dropping down to 40 at this junction just here, with around 1¼ miles to go to the next stop, which is Crofton Park. Just after the junction, the speed limit is increasing to 50 miles per hour. I'm just going to cut the power back for a moment to ensure that we don't exceed the 40 speed limit until the rear of the train has passed the 50 board. And we can accelerate up towards 50 just before this overbridge here. It's now a short, steep 1 in 59 upgrade after the overbridge, and then the gradient is going to level at a series of underbridges coming up in a moment. The gradient's now going to level. I've pulled the power back to coast. We've got around ½ a mile to go at this point to Crofton Park Station, and I'm going to brake around the area of the next signal. You should also bear in mind, should I say, that into Crofton Park Station there is a down 1 in 80 gradient, which will affect your braking ability. And as with most stations on this route, once again I need to stop around the end of the platform. I've just pulled the braking back as I think we might be slowing down a little bit too early there. And so we should now be stopping in just about the right place. Departing away from Crofton Park, the speed limit is still 50 miles per hour with around a mile to go to the next stop, which is Catsford. I'm now going to shut off the power in a moment at just below 50 miles per hour, as there is a 1 in 129 downward grade, which will cause us to increase in speed somewhat. And at this next signal, we've got around 0.6 miles to go to Catford Station. I'll use the brakes to control the speed if necessary on this downward grade. In a moment, we're going to have an AWS warning for a 40 mile per hour Morpeth board, and at that point, I'm going to apply the brakes for Catford Station. Just had the AWS warning. I'm now going to apply the brakes here. The 40 mile per hour speed limit comes into force immediately after departure away from Catford. Again, I've slowed down a little bit too quickly. I'm still struggling to get used to the brakes on this thing. They're certainly very good, but for me it would just be helpful to have a gauge to see how hard the brakes are applied, because then I could judge the braking distance much more easily. Once again, I'm looking to stop at the S sign at the end of the platform. And so we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from Catford here, the speed limit is dropping to 40 miles per hour immediately after departure, but then it's soon going back up to 60 miles per hour, with just under a mile to go to the next stop, which is Bellingham. I'm now shutting off the power at 40 miles per hour. The speed limit is now going up to 60, and we can accelerate at the next AWS ramp, which at that point we've got around half a mile to go to Bellingham Station. Now doing around 47 miles per hour. I'm going to shut off the power at this point and then apply the brakes entering this next right-hand curve. And here at Bellingham, once again, I want to stop at the S sign at the end of the platform. And so we should now be stopped in just about the right place. Departing away from Bellingham, the speed limit here is 60 miles per hour with around 2/3 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Beckenham Hill. Just to our left here is the Bellingham carriage sidings, and I'm going to shut off the power before we reach the end of the sidings, and I'm going to apply the brakes for our next stop just past the next signal. We're just reaching the end of the sidings now, so I'm going to shut off the power, allow the train to coast. I'm going to apply the brakes in a moment just as we're passing this signal here. now see the platform coming up at Beckenham Hill Station, and once again I need to stop at the end of the platform. Also noting that we have a double yellow signal aspect here, which means that the signal guarding our entry back onto the Chatham main line is currently showing a red aspect. Probably overstopped that very slightly, but we should now be stopped in roughly the right place. Departing away from Beckenham Hill, the speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, with around 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop at Ravensbourne. The grades change to an up 1 in 102 grade after departure, and then it's going to level out on the next right-hand curve. I'm going to shut off the power at around 50 miles per hour, and I'm going to brake at the end of the right-hand curve here. I also need to take care if the next signal is displaying a single yellow aspect, then the following signal at the end of the platform is actually very close by. You can see the signal ahead is displaying a single yellow, so I'm going to apply the brakes slightly earlier, and I really don't want to enter the platform faster than around 20 miles per hour because of the red signal aspect, as really you should be pulling up to red signals a bit slower than you normally would if you were entering a platform. And here at Ravensbourne Station, once again, I need to stop at the end of the platform. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. So I'm just waiting here for the signal to clear off the red aspect, and then we'll be able to proceed towards the next stop. And now it's cleared. Press R to close the doors, and off we go. So here at Ravensbourne, the speed limit is 60 miles per hour, though it's very quickly going to be dropping down to 50. And we've got around 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Shortlands. Speed limit's now dropping to 50 miles per hour for this junction here. Shortly after the junction, we've got a very short, steep downgrade of 1 in 45. This will be followed by a short, steep upgrade once we've passed under the Chatham main line in a moment. So I've now shut off the power, and in a moment I'm going to start applying the brakes for Shortlands Station. So now we're on the upgrade. I've got the brakes on, not too hard at the minute because the grade is helping us to slow down fairly quickly, and we should see the platforms of Shortlands coming up any moment now. And yeah, I can just see the platform there. I've just released the braking as perhaps we braked just slightly too early, and the upgrade is still helping us to slow down. Once again at Shortlands, we need to stop at the end of the platform. 5, 6 and 8 car stop sign just coming up on the right hand side. And we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from Shortlands, the speed limit is 60 miles per hour with just under a mile to go to the next stop, which is Bromley South. I'm going to shut off the power as we approach the next signal. We should be doing around 50 miles per hour at this point. And then there's going to be an up 1 in 100 grade around the area of that signal, which will continue right through Bromley South Station and along to the other side. Shut off the power now just to allow the train to coast. I'm going to apply the brakes as I see the next overbridge, which you can see just coming up, as that bridge is immediately before the platforms at Bromley South Station. Now here at Bromley South we need to stop at the 6/8 car stop sign, which is around 2/3 of a way along the platform. So I've got to be a bit more careful at looking out for the stopping point here, as I found it's quite easy to overshoot this one if you're not looking out for it. So we're just coming up on the 4 car stop sign there. And then I can see the 6 and 8 coming up in a moment. Got the platform signs and then the 6 to 8 car stop sign just coming up on the right hand side now. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from Bromley South, we're still on the 1 in 100 upgrade. The speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, and we've got around a mile to go to the next stop, which is Bickley. So I'm just going to accelerate consistently now up to the next signal. The next signal is around half a mile from Bickley Station, and then I will coast just as we pass the signal, and then finally brake, approaching the next overbridge beyond that. So now at the next signal with around half a mile to go, I'm going to shut off the power now and allow the train to coast, and you can see the overbridge coming up just ahead, and so that will be the braking point for Bickley Station. So I'm going to brake just before that. You can see the platforms at Bickley coming up just ahead there. We are still on an upward gradient, though it does level out a bit as we enter the platform here. Going to probably slow down slightly too quickly there. Now I'm looking out for the S sign, which is near the end of the platform, but not directly at the end of the platform. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from Bickley, the speed limit is still 60 miles per hour. The grade did shallow to 1 in 185 upwards in the platform, but it's now changing back to a 1 in 100 upward gradient. And we've got around 2 3/4 miles to go to the next stop, which is St Mary Cray. So from here all the way to Swanley, we've got varying gradients of between up and down, often around the sort of 1 in 100 mark. In a moment we're going to have a downward grade, so I'm actually going to shut off the power at just below 60 miles per hour to try and ensure that we don't break the speed limit here. Just passed under the southeastern main line there. In a moment the speed limit will be increasing to the highest speed limit we will encounter on this journey, which is 90 miles per hour, though we won't actually be able to get up to 90 before we have to start slowing down for St Mary Cray station. Give us a bit of power now as the gradient has levelled out, so we're losing some speed there. We're now passing the 90 mile per hour speed post, which is very large on the fast lines to the left, but very small on the slow line here. So as we pass the 90 mile per hour speed post, we had around 1 1/4 miles to go, and the gradient has changed to an up 1 in 110, which is making it very difficult for us to accelerate at present. But it's quickly going to change back to a down 1 in 100 grade at this overbridge just here. Shut off the power now. We've just passed that signal after the overbridge, and I'm going to apply the brakes for St Mary Cray station at this next gantry here, and we are on a down 1 in 100 gradient all of the way into St Mary Cray station. And at St Mary Cray we need to stop at the 8-car stop sign around 2/3 of the way along the platform. Probably coming a little bit hot here. I'm having to use some quite hard braking to bring that speed down, but of course the downward grade is also affecting our braking distance. I brought the speed down quite nicely. I almost accidentally put the power handle into emergency, but thankfully I didn't. So I'm just looking out for that 8-car stop sign now, which should be coming up soon. There's the 4. I say it's 2/3 of the way along. I think it's slightly further along than that, and you can see it now just on the right hand side by the platform marker signs. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from St Mary Cray, the speed limit is still 90 miles per hour, with around 2 3/4 miles to go to the next and final stop for this video, which is Swanley. once again, we've got varying gradients along this section of track between up and down. So on the upgrades, it does significantly affect our acceleration, and of course on the downgrades, we do pick up speed fairly quickly. But there's very little chance we're going to get to 90 miles per hour before we have to start slowing down for Swanley. Now, the next signal coming up in a moment, we've got around 2 miles to go. At this next signal coming up, we've got around 1.3 miles to go, and as you can see, it's displaying a double yellow aspect, and that's because the signal at the end of Swanley platform is displaying a red aspect because it is the end point for this journey within Train Simulator. As it's a double yellow, I'm going to shut off the power now and allow the train to coast. We're actually on an up 1 in 100 grade towards the next signal, and at the next signal we've got around 2/3 of a mile to go to Swanley. The train's been coasting down in speed quite nicely due to the upward grade that we're on here. I'm going to apply the brakes to slow down for Swanley as we're approaching this second overbridge on the left-hand curve here. And I want to enter the platform again a bit slower than usual because we are going to have a red signal at the other end of the platform. So I'm probably once again coming a little bit on the hot side, so I'm just getting that speed down nicely. It would have been fine if I was aiming to enter the platform at 30, but really I want to enter it no faster than 20 due to that red signal. Here at Swanley, I want to stop at the 4, 5, 6 and 8 car stop sign, which is near the end of the platform. And so here we are, just stopping in just about the right place here. And so another driver would then take over to continue the journey on towards Sevenoaks. But yes, here we are, arrival at Swanley. I just wanted to say at this point, thank you for watching this video. As I said earlier, it's been a surprise for me to be making this, and I certainly hope that you enjoyed watching it. You can find me on Facebook for the latest updates, with the link to my Facebook page in the video description. Also, if you're interested in looking at my photography, then please check out my Instagram, which is PTG Travelling. And again, I'll put the link to that in the video description here. Once again, thank you for watching.